welcome back to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann. That's me. It's the podcast where I have honest chats with small business owners about their journey and what it's like to be a business owner and run a business. Today I'm joined by Tania Chakraborti. She's a marketing and messaging strategist, and we've met, I believe, in January this year at a
Yeah,
networking event where we hit it off immediately. Hi,
we did.
Tania.
Hi, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How's your day been?
Good. Yeah, we were chatting about the sun. I'm really enjoying summer and the fact that we're getting a bit better weather. It's making me happy, feeling very positive. So yeah, very, very good. How about yourself?
Yeah, the spirits are up when the sun is out, definitely.
100%, yeah.
So let's get started. Tell me a bit about your business. I mean, it's called Brave Bird. I haven't mentioned that before. You're the founder. How long have you been in business? What's your journey been like? And why do you do what you do?
Love it. Yeah. So yeah, my name's Tanya. So a bit about myself. So I've been in business for about over a year now, doing this full time in the iteration of Brave Bird. And before that, I used to spend about half a decade or so running content teams and demand generation functions in sort of high scale up startup environments in the tech sector. And the reason why I got into what I did was that, so I moved from content into demand generation, which is more like ad strategy and lead generation. And I'd kind of be brought in to like audit some ads or, look at a new campaign or launch an event. And I'd always find that no matter how great the campaign was or how great the event or whatever it might be, people would come to the website or come to to kind of like, the landing page of, whatever that campaign would be. And they would stop and they wouldn't necessarily convert, even though they had an amazing campaign and they loved the ads or they clicked on multiple different pieces of content. And it really got me thinking about, it doesn't matter how big the business is, if your message isn't aligned or you don't have that consistency across all your platforms and you're speaking authentically, you lose people no matter what the size of the business is. And so that always sat with me. And I have a background in media and content as well. So, I always felt like your story is so important. And that always sat with me. And that was like a professional kind of drive for me. So I want to help more businesses really nail their positioning and nail their messaging. And now what I do with Brave Bird is I help solo founders in particular, but also scaling businesses better understand their story and their message and why they do what they do so that they can show up more authentically and sell in that process. And I'm really passionate about that. On the professional, that's the professional front. On the personal reason, I think what kind of like hit me was like why I wanted to start a business and work for myself and have that freedom and flexibility was in 2022. I was rushing. I was always that kind of person who was just on their way to the next thing, prepping for the pre-meeting before the meeting, always that kind of person, super anxious, super trying to tick off everything on my list. And I would always run myself to burnout. And I was on my way to meet, I think, our CEO at the time of the startup I was working at. I was leading the content function there. And it was like 7 a.m. and I didn't even know what I was rushing there for, and I fell down the train track, the gap between the train and the platform.
Oh, gosh.
I was rushing. And I was fortunately bedbound and housebound from that. They tell you to mind the gap and I just didn't do it. It's so funny if you've ever which is crazy, but it got me thinking, like, I had to ask myself those tough questions, like, why am I doing what I do? Like, what am I actually passionate about? I've always been passionate about storytelling. And I had that little genesis of like, while I was sitting at the four walls, like looking at the four walls of my house with these injuries, what do I actually want to do with my life and my time? And so that idea of starting a business and working for myself on more of a personal level grew. And it's why I really like my business is called Brave Bird. So I feel like the bravest thing that you can do for your business is go through that fear. It was a very stressful time in my life and go through that, but use it to ask tough questions about yourself, why you do what you do, why you're passionate about what you do, because that is the genesis of a great business, is when it's coming from that passion and authenticity. So, yeah, a very long answer to your question, Nicole, but I hope that
But I
helps.
love the answer. That's so crazy. I think that when something like that happened, let it be like a freak accident where you don't mind the gap, or, like some kind of health scare, which I've had myself just before COVID, it just brings things into perspective, right? And you're like kind of reviewing what you've done so far, if you're happy with what you've achieved or how you live your life. And then you have a lot of time on your hand, especially like you said, you were housebound. How long were you housebound for?
Months, like months. It was one of those things, like life-changing stuff where you're like, if this hadn't happened, it was horrible. And I think for me, it was reliving that memory of what had happened, because it wasn't a pretty event by any stretch of the imagination. But I realized that I had to kind of not just obviously professionally, but I had to start thinking about everything in my life that I cared about and valued, because all you have is time. And I think for someone like me, and I'm sure lots of business owners are like this, particularly in your first year of business ownership, you're always thinking, I've got to hit that next goal or the next step. I need to rush to that goal and do it in a really short-termism way. And you realize actually you need to slow down, because slowing down is like a godsend for your business or for your whatever you do professionally. So I think for me, it was like a turning point where I didn't start my business until like 2 years later, but it was something that sort of started a fire in me. So I think lean into those moments, those slow moments, they can be really, really valuable, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those things where you're always taught to set yourself a goal and then reach higher and higher. At some point, you can't go higher, and it's not like when people's like, "Oh, I want to be a millionaire," and then they're millionaires and they're still not happier than they were before. So, what are we actually chasing, right? And does it actually make us happy, or is it just us perceiving that this is the goal to happiness? So, you said you started your business just then last year, basically, if you said the accident was 22.
It was May last year, so it's been a crazy year, very busy. Um, because I had this idea in my head of that I wanted to help people with their story. And when I started off, I was doing lots of different types of marketing because my background's in marketing strategy, so I was doing different types of work. And actually, like, I think one of the questions you sent ahead of the session was like talking about, things that you've learned. And I think when I first started out, I thought, well, I need to like hit revenue goals. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hit these. And I actually went in and I kind of did a lot of contracting work. And I actually started looking at like, well, I could do this job and this job. And, kind of was chasing money looking back. And actually, it's only when I've realigned my business to like what I actually in the core want to do, which is focus on helping people with their stories, that my business has organically become a brand or starting to become a brand. And that's actually what's led me to have more opportunities like talking to you today. So, yeah, it's been a kind of crazy year, but I've absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and I noticed you showing up more on socials, doing those talking to camera videos and stuff like that. And I really love what you're doing. Really love the messaging, which obviously that's your job. So when you started your business, did you go full on full time, or did you still have like a normal day job?
I pretty much did the day job and then a bit of freelancing. And then when that was like untenable to do both, I had to make a decision because I was doing outside of work hours, and weekends and after work and stuff like that. It just wasn't tenable to do both. And then it was like the gut where it's like, you want to do this, just make the leap. And I'm very lucky, like I have a really supportive husband, and I was able to make that. I know lots of people can't do that. To make that leap of faith. But I think because I forced myself to just go for it, I was kind of thrown into the deep end. I have to find work, I have to sell, I have to get myself out there. And that's what drove me to keep going. Whereas I think if I'd continued to try and do both, I'd be in that safe space of, well, kind of, oh, I've got this income coming in here that's nice and stable, so I don't have to put myself out there. So I think by making that leap of going, no, I'm just going to have to do it. I'm going to have to hand in my notice and I'm going to do this full time. It forced me to make money, forced me to go out there, be a bit scared, which I think is important. Like I said, part of my business is helping people ask scary questions to themselves. So I think doing brave things is important. But it does sometimes mean you are feeling like this quite a lot. There's a lot of a roller coaster on. Um, but yeah, I made that transition pretty quickly. I think it was within a few months of thinking I can reliably do this. And I was like, I need to do this full time and get properly stuck in. So for me, I'm that kind of impulsive person though. When I make a decision, I just go for it. Sometimes not always the best thing to do. Sometimes, rationally speaking, it's not the best thing to do. But I think that's just who I am. I've always been like that. I think a lot of business owners are a bit like that as well, because we want to get out there and do cool things. So yeah, I don't know if you feel the same way.
I guess we make it a bit sound a bit condensed, like it's I make this decision and tomorrow I'm quitting the job. It's still a lot of things going on in the background. That it's not an overnight thing, and also do whatever's right for you. Like I think I probably could have quit my day job about 6 months earlier than I did, but
Mm,
it was fear and just like am I going to be able to support myself fully on this? What happens when like you said, the roller coaster when it's down?
yeah,
Can I survive this without that safety net? But
and
I'm glad
realistically,
I did it. Yeah, and I'm glad I did it. It's been the best decision of my life.
oh,
And that's one of those things that we don't realize. We have all those pro and cons, and we try to talk ourselves out of stuff, and then maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line when we've actually done it, we're like, oh, this wasn't a bad decision. This was good. And sometimes we don't realize until later either, because it takes time to actually see how much things have changed and how happier or like more fulfilled we are as well. Even though we work probably a bit more than 9 to 5.
But you do what you love and it feels a bit easier, doesn't it? I think
Yeah,
it's also like, I think regret sits on every side of any decision. You're always going to have regrets either way. So about weighing up what can you feasibly do in that, because obviously being financially stable is hugely important, and you can't, we always say follow our dreams, you also be realistic in that. So I think yeah, just thinking about like, well, what kind of regret can you live with as well? um
yeah,
it's scary, but it's true. I think
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, definitely. And have there been any kind of challenges in the first year that made you reconsider things, or anything that you're facing now that feels a bit difficult?
I think there are two. One is like your practical business answer, and then you have like actual mindset answer. So I think I'll give you both. So on the professional, like, you know, building a business side of things, I think one of them I just mentioned was like moving from my contractor, so like sort of contractor freelancer mindset to business brand mindset. That took some time, because you get with contract, you safe contracts, or you get into a mindset, well, that's still stable income, it's still stable money, so I don't have to necessarily build my brand because I'm getting my source of revenue here. And then you don't have to put yourself out there as much. And then that was great short term, but it meant that actually when it got to finding new leads and get, how do I get myself out there to have an inbound channel? And I preach inbound and I go in and I help companies with their inbound strategy. And yet, like, that wasn't there for me. And I had to really come to terms with, what does that look like for me? And then reorientating my services package, coming up with a signature program, which is my Brave Bird Boost program. And that, that took time and it took a lot of failure. Like, I had a signature program that I first launched. No one knows about it, Nicole, because it sold zero sales on this. I think I call it like persona to scale, where I'd come in with big businesses and I'd work out their target customer. It's a bit of what I do now, Grow It Boost, but a lot more grandiose. And by the end of it, they've got a lead generation system in place, which is fantastic. And I did do that with businesses in a one-to-one level, but I've tried to over package it, and I couldn't sell it because I hadn't tested it with the market. But then I went with my current service. I'd launched it at beta. I'd launched it, as different types of the offering, to work out what worked with it before I even went to my current pricing model and how I talk about it now. It was a process and it took time. So I think that's one of the learning things. I was like, you can fail and it's okay. Fail fast, learn some things from that, and then take data points from your customers and use that to build your new offering, and don't just build something from scratch, which was a very early mistake. And then the mindset answer, which is like, you have to show up all the time, for your business, even when you're really not feeling it. And for me, I used to really take that as a hit. Like, if I was having a bad mental health day or a really bad, personal crisis outside of work, it would bleed into what I was doing, professionally. Maybe not with clients. I could still kind of keep working through that, but the emotional load comes in, and then you feel like you're doing a talkie on your Instagram story or posting a reel, and that feels so heavy. It's a small thing, but you're like, I don't know if I can do it today. If I can press publish on something I already like planned or put in my drafts 3 weeks ago, right? Like, it becomes heavy. And I think what I've learned through that is, you have to kind of, you look at your business as like, it's okay if sometimes you can't be 100%, as long as you're giving yourself enough of, like, you're trying to show up and give it a good go even on those bad days, because otherwise you end up beating yourself up. So I think that's something that I've learned more recently, actually, and something that I've kind of, have to learn by having some bad days. And but that means when you have a good day, it feels amazing and you action that as much as possible. But yeah, very long answer again, Nicole.
No, I mean that's what this is for basically. So don't worry, there's no right or wrong. It's better than just like a two sentences, and then it's like okay. No, I love that, and that's what the chats are about as well. And I think sometimes if I have a bad day or I'm too busy, then I don't show up, or it's just a story. It's not who says we have to show up every day, who has who says it's just us thinking we have to,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
sometimes our plate is already full, so we don't do it today, we do it tomorrow. Or like you said, maybe there's a post that we've had in our drafts and we can whip that up quickly to just be there. But also I think um I'd rather show up fully when I'm in there and feel it than just like, "Oh, I have to do it now," because I think that as a one-off, that's fine.
Mm.
But if that's a theme, people pick up on that.
Yeah, you can feel, you can sense it, can't you? Yeah, I think you mentioned like that energy and like just like doing it when you're feeling good, because it 100% translates so much better. The challenge is then that you see someone's stories and you think everything's perfect all the time. So I think that's a challenge. That's why I work with clients like, oh, what is your authentic version of yourself? Like, because I will bring that out. And you'll probably attract more people that way. But it does mean that ultimately, like, be yourself. And if you're having a bad day, speak to that as well. Like, I think people really appreciate that post pandemic, particularly. I feel like we, as a culture, have moved on from like picture perfect to actually we want that authenticity. We want to hear someone be themselves and show up even when they're having a rubbish day or no makeup or whatever, whatever that version of not, not stereotypically quote unquote perfect. So
Just real.
just real, exactly. And you know that as a photographer, like you're bringing out the real when you work with people and helping them feel comfortable, right? um Naturally that feels more authentic and a bit more genuine.
Yeah, and it's also high energy when you're always trying to attain perfection and being like this picture that people have in their heads and put it on a pedestal. That's not real life. People can't identify that long term. It's maybe, like we said, that's maybe a goal where people, when they start out or something, they're like, oh yeah, I like this person, they seem to have it together, but actually they don't. They just pretend. Because I don't think anyone has it together long term. I
No,
would be quite suspicious.
unless it's your brand though. Like there are some people whose brand is picture perfect and they have a following because that is literally the whole brand, and it must be very tough to continue to feel, have to be
Yeah.
perfect all the time. But I think, yeah, it's just about like what is your I think about personal branding, is we talk about that a lot in our space, right? And like that just means like what is the what is the most authentic version of yourself that you can show up with to help attract more people to you. It's as really as simple as that, and then keep showing
Yeah.
up with that content that is people unmistakably believe is you. So for you, that's authentic, genuine, beautiful photographs that capture the essence of who you are. For me, that's like, how do you get your positioning and messaging right? And I speak to that all the time. And that's my what I believe is my personal brand, along with like headbands, because I love headbands.
I have colorful sweaters, so
You do.
that's the thing. You kind of pick something that you like, you can identify with, and that you just love, and then all of a sudden, people kind of recognize you for it. I think so. Last week I was at Atomicon,
Yeah.
and literally I was on the train from King's Cross to Newcastle. Just before it started the journey, and it's like, Nicole, it's like, yeah. And then it was a client of mine, and she went to the same
Oh, amazing.
conference, and she just recognized me from the back of the head because of the hair.
Yeah, I
So
do
it,
that. I
it's
do think about your hair. I do think about your hair and your jumpers and your bright
yeah,
colour, and that is Nicole to me. Joy's,
yeah,
because I feel like that's
yeah.
part of the personal brand for sure.
Yeah, I literally had people saying to me, like, sometimes I'm in a shop and I see like a jumper or something colorful, and I think that's something Nicole would wear. It's like, I'm in people's minds.
I love it. It's a big part of it though. It's like I think, when I work with clients, like a big part of what I do is like the story strategy element, and part of that we talk about, which they don't really think about, is like, what would you say is you want to, you as yourself, describe that version of you, what are you wearing, how are you feeling, what's your ideal client and why have they been an ideal client. And usually you find out it's their communication style because that aligns with their communication style. And then that ends up becoming a huge part of their messaging, because as well as all that kind of like target market and who's your customer and who are your competitors, all that kind of marketing strategy speak, we also look at the personal side of it, because it's a huge part of it. It's how you show up authentically. Authentically is kind of a word that's been kind of like, I don't know, looked down on recently, but I can't think of a better word to explain what it means like being yourself.
Yeah, or be real. Yeah. I mean, I obviously use that word a lot as well. And like I said, I hear it a lot. And even when people use it now, they say, yeah, it's overused. But it is true. It's not like it's like shine and level up, which kind of gets, tired and loses its meaning, where authentic is still like, yes, it's used a lot, but it's still relevant. But in terms of your business, is imposter syndrome something that you struggle with, or are you I see your smile already. What's the challenge for you there, like talking yourself out of stuff, or sometimes not showing up, or not taking that kind of risk going to an event or something because you feel like you're not ready, or something like that?
Yeah, gosh, it's a really good question. Definitely yes. I think when I started out, I had it a lot because I thought I had to be this ultra professional, ultra almost corporate version of myself. That's what I thought in my brain. I was like high ticket clients, you know, like, and I would literally like not dress like myself, and I'd feel that misalignment, and that would actually cause me imposter syndrome because I would be being someone I'm not. I feel like I was, you know, professional on discovery calls, feeling like, you know, proper boss ass bit woman, you know, like really there, but ultimately back in the back of my head I was like, this isn't me, and it's making me stress because they can sense it, they can sense I'm not myself. And that would really play until I made that shift in that alignment of my business with who I actually am, and like how I'm talking to you now is how I talk to clients, and like that felt more organic, and that bit of that imposter syndrome went. But then I had the second wave of imposter syndrome, which is like, now I'm showing up for my business consistently, now I'm trying to build a brand, now I'm out there, now I'm on podcasts, now I'm doing things that maybe I would have found really scary. And I think what I've tried to teach myself is that feeling of like you're not good enough is often just you accepting, yeah, you're going for the next challenge and the next thing, and try and turn it into excitement, because often like you probably haven't done it before, and that is really scary. But ultimately, like, who else is going to do it if you don't? And yeah, other people might be doing exactly what you do. Like, I'm not the only positioning and messaging strategist out there. Shock horror. There are
Ooh.
lots of others. But like ultimately I have to do what's right for me and be myself, and I'll attract the right people. And when I started telling myself that more, it's been easier to overcome it. But of course, you're going to have days where you just feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm rubbish. I'm really rubbish. Even though you've got loads of paying clients and you feel good about yourself, and you've had a really good day doing something like, you know, speaker session or a podcast, like, but still you're going to have that inner critic being like, you're not good enough. I feel like I kind of got bored one day like a month or so ago, where I had a really like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. And I think I had stats and facts to say that that's not true, but I was really like, do they cover it over my head, kind of like, you know, feeling rubbish. And I think I said to myself, this is boring. I'm bored of like telling myself like I'm not good enough all the time. Like, what's the point? I think for me, I think because I am like the first person in my like nuclear family to like have a business like this, like, and I think I didn't have like necessarily, well, my father-in-law has a business, so that's been really helpful. But like when I first started, like I didn't have like people doing what I did. I had to join networking groups, like, you know, women in business communities and things like that. And that's when I realized there are other people like me who feel the same way. I think when I was alone doing it on my own from that, you know, in the first few months just from behind my desk, that was quite like, you know, the imposter syndrome is loud. It's gotten quieter by being around people who are like, it's normal.
Yeah, I love that. It's and that's so true. Like just having a community and seeing that other people go through similar things or have similar thoughts, even people where you think she has her shit together, and then actually no, she has her bad day as well. And also the reframing where you said like it just means that you're scared of taking a new step. I love that reframing of it. That it's not like you're not enough. It's just like protecting yourself a little bit from that scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel when you started to put yourself out there for your business? Like, did you have that kind of same feeling, or what got you through it?
Yeah, I think it's the fear of being judged. Basically, everything leads back to childhood, doesn't it? So it's like putting yourself out there. You immediately are back in that classroom where you have to sing a song in front of like 30, 12 or 15-year olds. And it's like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's what I tell my clients as well. It's almost like riding a bike or learning a new skill. The more you do it, the less scary it gets. And yes, I still don't necessarily do like a lot of direct to camera talking. I'm a rambler, so I'm like when I want to say something, and then 5 minutes later I'm still saying something, and I still haven't got to the point. I'm just overthinking it. But I actually enjoy showing up the way I show up at the moment because I'm having fun and I'm doing the things that are fun to me. And it's like, oh yeah, I love this silly kind of thing, and like looking cheeky at the camera or whatever for, you know, a bit of cheek and tongue kind of thing. Because that's very me. I'm probably not the person that likes to be center of attention and like presenting
Mm.
herself as an expert. And every time someone says something like that, it's like, but actually, I've been in
Yeah.
business for almost 11 years and I've had, you know, loads of clients. So I do sometimes know what I'm talking about. I just don't like making a point of like, hi, look at me, here I am. So I just try to find my way of doing it in
I
an
love your
authentic
content. I
way, I
think what
guess.
I think drew me to you, um, like a moth to a flame, was your content, because like I feel like it's so vibrant and really like you can tell you're having fun. I think people can. really gravitate to that, particularly as a
Mm.
photographer. Like, you want to trust the person that's taking pictures of you because it's such an intimate thing in a way. Like, so I think you get that sense from your content because it is so fun and joyful. So I love that you recognize that, and like it's so clear that that's having a session with you would be like, if I was to work with you as a photographer, I know that I have a really good time, which I think is really something that's communicated really well in your content, which is why being yourself and just having fun with it is really important.
Yeah, and I find as well that no matter what you do, if you know where your client is coming from, why they feel apprehensive of doing something or they're not sure about something, then you can bring across the better what how to do it, because I exactly know what it feels like to be in front of the camera and feel awkward and not know what to do. I might not come across that way now because I've done like many shoots, and it's usually with a fellow friend that's a photographer. um but I changed my mindset in terms of like, I'm just gonna have fun, and then I know I'll get some decent photos out of it. Because the moment I stopped, like, "Ugh, I
Yeah.
hate this, I'm awkward, it's not gonna look good, look at my double chin, and all those kind of things, that's when you hold yourself back, and those photos will reflect that. But as soon as you're like, ah, fuck it, let's do this and have some fun, then even if I don't like all of the photos, because you never like
Mm,
all of the photos because it's still you, that's just how the world works, unfortunately. You will get some really good photos and you have a nice experience. And you're not going to look back on something like, oh, I hated this. And no, yeah, I can see it in the photos. But that's with anything of running a business. It's the same thing. If you just do the things that you don't like and like, "Ah, I hate this," and it comes across a certain way as well.
I think the good thing about having a business as well is that you can choose what you want to do. It's the most unique experience. It's stressful and scary putting yourself out there for sure, but like you can choose, what content you put out, what you speak about, how you speak about it, what events you go to, how you show up online. Those are your choices. They're active choices. Whereas maybe if you're in a different context, different profession, you won't necessarily get that choice. And what that means is it's scary because you have to set your own boundaries, schedules, you know, be strict with yourself to get that stuff out there in the world. But you also get to choose. You got to, like going what events you go to, or do I want to do face to face? Am I better online? Um, these are all choices, and they all obviously choices that you have to use to grow your business. And that's whatever that looks like to you. But it does mean that you can choose to be fun with it if that's your personality, in maybe in other ways you wouldn't be able to, which is amazing. I always find that like a little bit incredulous. I'm always like, wow, that's cool. It's cool that they get to do that.
Yeah, and I mean that goes across any aspect of your business. It's not just about the visibility and the branding. It's also, for years I've done my own accounting, and 3, 4 years ago now I got an accountant. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made because I'm not like worried about it anymore. I'm not stressing out in January, and I'm spending like 3 hours of my summer holiday kind of going back to all the receipts and making sure everything is all right, and still thinking, have I done anything wrong? Have I cheated myself out of stuff? Or all those kind of things. So it goes across any aspect of your business, I think. If there's something you don't enjoy, or you're not sure if that's your thing, or if you're actually doing a business a disservice by doing it yourself. There's so many talented people and skillful people and experts that you can just look for help and assistance.
Yes, a shout out to my accountant, by the way. She's amazing. Rachel from Simplified Accounting. One of the first things I did was like, I need to get, I'm terrible at numbers. I'm a wordsmith. I do words. I don't
Yeah,
do, I'm really bad at the numbers. So I
yeah.
knew I needed help there. And like, it's been amazing to have someone that you could ask questions to and feel like that security and, knowing that that's, like taken care of so you can focus on what you're good at.
Yeah, and that's time that you can spend, focusing on other things that you're really good at and you enjoy. And I think the first year, my accountant saved me like 4.5 grand because I made a mistake the previous year. I mean, that's money well spent, right?
For sure, get it back.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of wrap up the first part of this, I always ask two questions. One is I mean, it's not that far in the past, but what is something you would tell starting out Tanya? Anything she kind of could do differently or exactly do the same?
Gosh, okay. I think one thing is okay, don't try too hard to be someone you're not, because when you start out, I think also like you have societal expectations of like you're a business owner, you have to keep proving that you're doing really well and that, and try and show up not just online, just like with clients or in any context, like to be this ultra different version of you because that's what you think business ownership looks like. And I was really trying very hard to be that version of me. Um, and I started a lot of my kind of inbound journey through LinkedIn. And I felt like, oh, everyone who I've ever met before is like connected to me. You know, all my old colleagues and family and friends, people are looking at my content. I have to be a certain way, and actually, I knew deep down there was a misalignment that wasn't right for me. But I think to just listen to your gut about like, well, how do you want to build your business? Like, you're the only one who can ask yourself that question. So I think I just having a bit more self trust in myself, like who I am, and really, I love who I am. I'm happy about who I am, but I didn't own that, at the beginning. I think I could have saved myself a lot of, self doubt and all that kind of inner critic stuff. And I think also like um, I think there's like that inner critic voice, and I think I wish I told her to shut up a bit more, like just like be quiet, and surround yourself with people who build you up. That's a really big one because you know what, you've already got inner critic. You don't need someone else to tell you to put more doubt in your head or keep you small. So I think that's why I'm so grateful for like sort of communities. I think we met through the Wilder Collective, an incredible group of women who just lift each other up, and business owners who have so many different ambitions that go well beyond just making money. And like surrounding yourself with people like that who get you and want to lift you up, and you lift each other up, and that could be professionally or even personally, um, and I think that has been game changing for me because I feel like I've surrounded myself with people who get me, and that's helped me be more me, which only helps my business. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a big part, the community. I always go on about that because it changed the way I run my business or the way I feel about business or in life in general, I think as well. The other question, is there something you're proud of? It could be anything more recent, it could be something that's way in the past, but any kind of moment or decision or a way you handled something that you're really proud of.
I think for me, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but like when I'm really proud of my service offering. I think it's really good. I'm really proud of it because I've worked really hard to get it right. And I think one of the decisions that could have gone either way was when I was trying to refine that offer. I offered a few for free and like all beta pricing. Like literally, I think it was a month where I made like comparatively little money compared to other months, and I was like, this is a real gamble. But I did like I think it was like 6 projects in a month, just like really testing out this service to make sure I was providing the best service value. That I was helping ask the right questions to my clients about themselves, that I was being empathetic with them, that I got all the feedback I needed to make it what I believed was indefensible, really good. And that gave me, and why I could have gone another way, and the reason why I'm proud of that is because it was a bold decision to go. The month before is comparatively so much better, or even the quarter before had been really good financially, and I was taking almost a step back to take a step forward. But what that's done for this is me now I have this alignment. I feel so good about what I sell, but I could have easily have gone, you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna, you know. I don't need to learn. I can continue to do what I'm already doing, and I think I almost cannibalized a bit of my old business to make this new one work, and that was really scary. But I'm proud that I did that because now I feel really good about what I sell. It feels good to sell, whereas before it felt a little bit off. And I think I could have easily have just kept in my safe lane. So I think for me, that's been really game changing for me because it's helped me reposition my whole branding almost, because that service has become such a key part of what I love selling, and therefore my branding, my offering, how I talk about myself, how I show up. Um, so yeah, that's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's really good. I think taking risks and just taking risks really pays off, and it can make you feel so secure in, like you said, what you're offering and what it is you're actually doing. And once you know that, the rest is just it's easier because you're so secure in your service and in your skills as well.
Yeah, sure. If you
Brilliant.
can take risks, you should. There's obviously going to be reasons why you can't always, but I think for me that I was lucky that I could in that month do that. So yeah, very great.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't always need to be like risk is a huge word, and people always think about the extreme, but it could be smaller risks as
Yeah,
well.
true.
Like you said, maybe don't do 6 or 7 projects for free or little
Yeah,
money, but do set yourself a limit of two, kind of thing. So it's all kind of whatever is right for you and what you can do.
Yeah, it could be as small as you said, like showing up, like doing a video that's a bit risky for you, like putting yourself on camera. Like these small steps lead to big change, right? So, yes, I completely agree with you on that.
Definitely. Brilliant. So thank you for taking part in this. We are going to do it part two. So for everyone who's listening, stick around. And I think 2 days later, I will publish the second episode where it's more about how to figure out your messaging and how to communicate that to your audience. So yeah, stick around. Thank you for listening in.